Hey folks, we're super stoked to finally get this track rig video out to you all to sink your teeth into. Here in the beginning, we've put together a nice little montage of the tracks in action, mounted on our ranch proven, and I could say that 100 times over, Honda Pioneer 520. You can see that the first part is the rig riding over some of our track pack trails, and then Richie goes for the untouched snow, which is an entire winter's worth here in Northern Ontario, settled to around 3 feet. Stay tuned for all the details, the nitty-gritty stuff that's coming up. Hope you enjoy, and any further questions, don't hesitate to comment below. And if you dig this, please hit the like button.
Hey guys, welcome to another review video. This one is on the Camso X4S tracks, and they are on Pioneer 520 that you see here. We chose this X4S size because it's designed for machines up to 700 cc's, so it was pretty well suited for this. There are the larger Camso tracks that you can get that people have successfully put on the Pioneer 500, which gets you a bigger footprint, but we decided to go with this size just to be able to steer a little bit easier since we don't have power steering. So far they've been through basically 2 winters. Last winter was okay as far as snow goes. The winter before that was really good, so that's when most of our footage is from. They've done really well. First of all, what tracks will do on a UTV or side-by-side or ATV for that matter is just incredible compared to basically any tire setup that you could put on these. It will make these machines a true 4-season, go anywhere basically, within reason of course. They really expand what you can do with a machine without having to go and buy a snowmobile. You can't really fully compare it to a snowmobile because the snowmobiles are typically a lot narrower, they're going to be a lot faster depending on what you're comparing it with. To be able to use this workhorse all year round for us was a game changer. Basically having a full-size box and doing everything that you do in the summer, spring and fall, and do that in the winter with this guy is amazing. First of all, let's go through some of the cons. Now, this review is based on these tracks on this machine. So with the 520 and the 500, you have a full-time locked rear end, so it really limits your steering. Once you get into tighter trails and you are trying to make tighter turns, because it's locked up on the rear end, it affects your steering quite a bit. So the first thing you'll notice is if you want to go for a tight turn, you basically have to turn the wheel to full lock before you feel the machine actually respond and start to do a more aggressive turn. If you're just doing gentle turns and that, the machine responds pretty similar that you're used to with tires on. But as soon as you want to do a tighter turn, you really have to go full lock. So having said that, you're going to need a decent amount of upper body strength to be able to be throwing the steering back and forth quite a bit. So you might need to look at a machine that has power steering, or go ahead and get that upgrade, which is available for tons of machines. But having the locked rear end definitely affects the steering, and that's one reason why we went to the smaller footprint of the X4S. So if you go to the larger size tracks, we figured it would make it even harder to do that, to do the turning. So another issue that we've noticed right away, because you can't lock the front differential on this machine, if you're expecting to absolutely go anywhere up hills and traverse, and all kinds of terrain like that, you really need to make sure the machine that you're getting or has a lockable front end. So we're seriously considering putting a locking front differential, a torque locker on the front of this machine. So again, it's dumping more money into this. It's still worth it, but what it will do, our gut feeling is the machine will definitely go into far more extreme conditions without getting stuck. We have had it stuck a couple of times, when going over really large snowbanks and the machine bottoms out on top of the bank and it just can't really get traction. But most of the times when you reach the limit of the actual traction on the machine, like if you're starting to go up a hill through fresh snow and all that kind of thing, you're going to see one track will stop dead on the front and the other one will spin, and then the rear ones will be spinning. And it's basically, you just want to stop right at that point. Don't try to go any further because it's just going to dig deeper. And those 3 tracks are trying to push the dead one, you know, that's going through 2 or 3 feet of probably pretty dense snow, and you know, you don't know what objects are down there at that point. And so those 3 tracks are trying to push the machine and that dead track. So it's just, you just stop and you back out of it. Okay, so that track stopped dead, and you can see it's trying to push up into that steep snow, and that one was just digging down, which of course means the back ones were digging down there and there. So most of the time we find backing out of those situations is no problem. But as soon as you feel the machine lose traction, you just stop. Don't keep trying, or you're gonna have to get the shovel out and be digging underneath it and winch and whatever. So those are some of the negative, the things that you need to look out for. If you really expect your machine, when you add tracks on, or your rig to go absolutely anywhere without a locking front end, locking differentials, that kind of thing, you're going to be really limited to what you can go through. So that's something to consider. The pros are kind of obvious, so we'll try to keep the video a little shorter. You know, of course, your flotation has been increased big time. As long as you're going across the flat, you know, you can go through 3 feet of snow and the machine will be plowing through it and all that. You typically don't get stuck. It isn't until you start trying to turn sharper and go up hills and that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind. A lot of people will tell you, we put tracks on a machine, it'll be unstoppable. Some machines, yes, and some machines, not quite. And you might need to modify. So again, this video is more geared towards tracks on the 520. So these are the things that we're running into. On the topic of sort of what the machine does when you're dealing with a 500cc power plant, your engine's not making tons of power and your gearing doesn't have the potential to go super quick, and your gearing, your ratios are changed big time by adding tracks. So it's not a machine that you're just going to go bombing around, you know, like 40 miles an hour through the snow and all that kind of thing. So this is more of a slow to medium speed kind of fun, more like you're in kind of like a tank or an Argo or one of those types of things. Not at all like a snowmobile. If you need speed in that, go for a snowmobile. Yeah, now one thing, if you want to go flying around, the tracks really throw up tons of snow, lots of snow, mist, light particles of snow. They go everywhere. And especially if you have like a windshield or some deflector, I find it actually almost kind of causes the snow to be pulled into the cabin area. So I think it might be a little better with no windshield at all, actually, because you've got that airflow going straight through. Whereas with that, it's causing like a negative pressure in the cabin area, which is kind of pulling the snow in and up, even from behind and over the box. It can kind of circle in that way. So if you want to go ripping around like that, you're going to need to be super enclosed. That means you need a glass windshield, windshield wiper, heater, doors, rear panel, roof. So you're getting, you know, you can get carried away with cost. And of course there's machines out there that come with all that kind of stuff as options from the factory too. But you know, those are things to look out for. So you'd be wearing like a snowmobile helmet and snowmobile suit, and you will be covered in quite a bit of snow if you plan on bombing around. If you keep your speed way down, just kind of putting around, so to speak, it's not so bad. It's pretty manageable, but it is something to think about. Also on hard pack trails, you get a lot of vibration from all the lugs kind of going over the hard snow. So if it's really icy or very hard packed, you'll feel a lot of vibration in the machine, so it's not so pleasant. It's really nice to go over some fresh powder if you can. You do get a little bit nicer ride, Yeah, the manual says you can tune up the suspension, like tighten up the springs if you need a little bit more ground clearance. But then I think you're kind of into doing some alignment with it. So I just kind of kept it stock and didn't change the spring height or anything like that. And it does add a lot of ground clearance to the machine. I think you're at around 11 inches or something like that. I'll correct out later with the measuring tape, but you get more ground clearance for sure, which is nice. Yeah, we won't go into the installation, like how to install it or anything, but so Richie and we did it for the first time in 2 hours, and I think that was pretty good. Like, we weren't trying to hurry or anything, but you know, it's not too bad. You definitely, when the tracks are new, they're really stiff, and during the install you kind of need to, when you have it jacked up, you need to kind of roll the track around a little bit. So when it's new, it's really hard. You need a second set of hands. After it's been the tracks have been broken in and they're warm, if you're in a heated garage or something like that especially, they're easier to rotate around. But we do recommend doing it with having 2 people and proper safety equipment like jack stands and proper lifting. But yeah, at the end of the year, at the end of the season, we do leave the 2 brackets on the rear arms, which actually do save a little bit of time. You know, if you have things like A-arm guards and things like that, you should probably check into see whether or not you have to remove those every time you want to put the tracks on and off, or you know, there are some cables and some bracketry and stuff like that that will definitely be in the way potentially if you've got A-arm guards. Oh yeah, another thing, because of the way the tracks are and the gear ratios and all the engine braking you get from just having the tracks on, we barely ever touch the brakes, like ever, like all winter. So the problem with that is you can kind of get some corrosion going on, some rust on your brakes. So it's kind of a good idea, I think, after each ride, if you can get some speed up and hit the brakes a couple times just to try to clear them off. But we definitely do notice that. Some other thoughts: the tracks really like to freeze up. So you get, you know, the snow melting all falls down in there, especially on the front. The track is kind of curved, so it's like a trough. It actually holds the water in there and any kind of slushy stuff. And then if you get a freeze up, which obviously you will in the winter time, you go to pull away next time, it's all frozen in around the bogies. You can get a really nasty clunk. And I've tried things like, you know, what you do with a snowmobile, like kind of lift and drop and all that. Pretty much all it does is throw my back out. So if you can keep it parked in a heated space during the winter time, that is definitely the way to go. But we can't always do that, obviously. Some people just don't have a heated garage or a heated space, so it kind of is what it is. Mess around with clearing out the snow after when you're done riding, but there's so many bogies and springs and sprockets and stuff that are in the way. It's really hard to clean it right out. Maybe an air blaster or something like that. I've never tried that. But yeah, on this machine, again, it's now a 4-season machine, and it can work all through the winter time, collect firewood, you know, go through the trails, pack down the trails. You almost don't need a groomer, but you still will get a high spot in the middle that you haven't packed. So we probably will end up making a little simple wooden pull behind groomer to kind of knock the middle down. But it works really good for just grooming and just going out and checking out your trails and that. Yeah, I don't know, just to sum up the video, I guess, it's a lot of fun. It's not like rip around fun really on a machine like this, but it's hard to describe. It's kind of like, you know, you're floating around and you're going places that you kind of wouldn't be used to going when you got tires on, and it's just a great experience. Of course, you know, everybody's end use for a machine like this or having tracks on it is going to differ, but for us it really was worth the extra expense, 100%. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Hope it helped you out, or hope you found it entertaining. If you've got any comments or questions, go ahead and put them in below. If you liked the video, if you enjoyed it, and give us a like. It helps us out a lot. If you're new here, hit subscribe, and you can be notified to new videos that we come out with. Some reviews, some progress videos around here on the ranch. Yeah, generally good stuff. yeah, sorry for those of you that were waiting on this video. I know I said I was going to come out with it last year, but we're at the point where it's time to put the tires back on. So here we are, and it'll give everybody that's out shopping lots of time before next winter to figure out if this is what you need or what you're interested in. Yeah, happy riding. This is the part where I kind of forgot what the hell I came here for. But anyways, need some help.